Yeah, hi there guys. It's Saturday the 12th of April 2025. We're at Santarem Cathedral in Portugal. And it's truly, truly magnificent, really, to be fair. This style of work there's renovation works done in 1638. But what's quite important about this church is it has, and the grounds around it obviously, has a lot of Masonic, and going backwards, it has a lot of Templar aspects to it. I'm just going to show you some of those today, actually, if I could, as we just go round. So I say it was a church, but really a church, but labelled as a cathedral these days in the diocese. But it's truly amazing. Now, the first thing we stumble across is this little chap, this little fellow here, and he almost looks like he's from one of the playwrights, doesn't he? To be or not to be, for that is the question. But there we are. He has much more significance than that. If you note what he's doing with his hands, although in effect two of his fingers are missing on the statue itself, really, but he's got one of his fingers, if it were there, will be bent inwards to give a sign and a call, which is quite valid within Freemasonry, really. So anyway, let's go around here and look at this part. When we arrived, there was a chap doing a tuning, so I've got a little video of that to put up later on as well, which is quite interesting. And here we have the priest, St. Louis Gonzaga, laid to rest. But what's of interest is, again, look how he's presenting himself in the statue. That's quite interesting as well in itself. As we go backwards. I mean, each piece of artwork, each piece of sculpture, they all tell some kind of story. It's whether it's the story that I want to know or receive, really, to be fair. Sometimes there's elements of truth, obviously, like any story, I guess. It is, after all, a story. So, and here, this I find quite fascinating, that we come over to this fellow. Just to there. And again, it's the hands on these statues that are of particular interest to me. Now look at the hand there. I don't know how much you can see there on the lighting as it goes inwards to get into there. See how the hands change depending on the circumstance and what they're doing. We'll just go backwards a little bit. There's certainly things in here that are going to be timeless, and I'll give much more detail within the book itself. Now look at this little shield here. A lot of things within the church is sequence in numbers of 7 and 8, which is quite fascinating in itself, I guess, really, which in turn gives you the magic frequency of 15, if you believe in that type of frequency. But you can see that we've got the 8 stars around the equilateral cross. Please be mindful of the equilateral cross. Not this fellow, that's not true. None of that is true. What is of truth, though, is the equilateral cross that we see there, which is quite fascinating. Artwork above, and I couldn't get used to this part without showing you the ceiling area, really, to be fair. Look at that for artwork. Isn't that truly amazing? And there's some great detail in there. I've got a picture already that I'm going to be posting on there of the knight here. Can you see the Roman knight that's just there? And just watch what he's doing with his feet and his hands and what they're actually doing there. That tells a story within itself. So we'll just come round. Some of these places in Portugal, there are aspects here that connect directly to Iceland, oddly enough, and there are aspects that connect directly to Roslin Chapel, but also to the Orkney Islands. I'll just show you one of them. So, give you a little clue there. That's one of the symbols or marks, actually. It's not a symbol, it's a mark. And that mark is quite significant. As we go into here, one of the main chapel areas where people do their deep thought and process, which again in itself is quite interesting. I don't think religion's wrong. I think some people sometimes misunderstand me. I think any form of spirituality is good, but it has to have elements of truth, or at least 90% of the time be truthful. And we know that stories are changed to meet and benefit others. It's all about control mechanisms. And it's not really right, is it? At the end of the day, no one's better than anyone else, to be fair. So, and if you think that, then you're a sorry person, because judgment will certainly gather your thoughts together, that's for sure. Hey, look at this on the ceiling. This is truly amazing work again. Now, I want to miss the central piece, because that's what they really want you to focus on, the central piece. I want you to bring you into these two here. And look at this. Look, we've got the significance of the red rose. We've got 6 pillars. Can we see that? 6 pillars? Not two main pillars. We've got 6. Now that's quite significant. Again, I'll be writing about in Timeless, about numerology and certain numerology that's quite valuable and valid. And we'll just come round here. And again, we've got a lot of almost the sort of rose with the cross in a lot of places throughout the entire cathedral itself. There we are. Just see that little fellow there. I mean, they're pretty bulk standard, to be fair. They're nothing to write home about, really. What's to probably write home about is through here. Now look at this chap. Isn't he absolutely amazing? Look at the detail on that. Truly magnificent. Again, there's a story within that. That'll be coming through in Timeless. Lovely piece of artwork here. Look at that, tells 1,000 stories, doesn't it? Truly magnificent. Now this part is quite fascinating as well. This is a main inner chapel. Which you can see, they've got the robes there and different facilities, which is quite fascinating. But what's quite interesting is what's up there. Look at this little fellow. Just zoom you into there. Very, very nice. There's so much beauty in the artwork, the sculptures, the time that they take to do these things. There's a few more pictures I'll gather in a moment just to show you on another post, but this is generally the gardens there, which are quite pleasant as well. It's all kept very beautifully. And there's just one last thing I want to show you here, which is of significance. If I can get up there. Oh, there we go. There we are. Here it is. This is the baby and the beast, isn't it? Ironically, it's actually the safe as well of the church, but what's interesting is what's on there. Look at this. Again, we've got 1,000 stories there. That will certainly be mentioned in my book, Timeless, as well. 1,000 stories there. So here we are in Portugal. It's a varied place, Portugal, I've found so far, to be fair. But I suppose it's no different to any other country. In the sense you get these things. You get interesting areas, farming areas, vineyards. But I think all in all, this was probably one of the most amazing visits today, actually, to here. And I actually hadn't planned it to be on this quest. How interesting. Thanks very much, guys. Hope you enjoyed it and got a little peeky look at what's here in this beautiful cathedral.